fear of uncertainty.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Welcome to CJAD800 Open Mic Night. Got a big night ahead of me. I'm here for 2 hours. Got lots of different topics that we're going to be tackling. At the 8:30 hour, we're going to have a guest coming in from the ACCM, which is the AIDS Community Care of Montreal. He's going to be coming in. We're going to be talking about HIV and stigma. And also, we're going to be talking about social media and authenticity. Can we really be authentic in our social media posts? At the 9 o'clock hour, I am so excited for this guest. We have a psychic pet medium. This guy can talk to your animals who are deceased and even the ones that you have in your own home. I'm looking forward to that because I'm going to ask him to communicate with my dog who died about 14 years ago. And at the end of the show, I'm going to have in Frank Kermit. He's a relationship coach, and we're going to be talking about his book, Everything Coming Out of Her Mouth is a Test. But right now, we're going to be talking a bit about work. And stepping outside of what you usually do, what you usually know to get what you think you deserve. A lot of people out there are in jobs that they don't like, or maybe that they like, but they think they should be getting more out of their jobs, maybe more money, maybe more recognition, I don't know, maybe some traveling, more perks, and they just want to do more for themselves. They don't want to wait around anymore for someone to give them an opportunity. They want to start creating their own. So I have in studio with me Samantha Kris. She's a business coach, and she's also the author of Bossing Up. Welcome, Samantha.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm a part of your Bossing Up group.
Yep.
Can you say that? Facebook group? Yeah, Facebook group.
Yeah, it's a members area.
Yeah, members area. Thank you. And that's a great group because you get together, you've put together lots of entrepreneurs, lots of people who are trying to do something different. But a lot of them don't have that business going yet. They're kind of like working to get there. In your work as a coach, do you find that most of the people who come to you are in a situation where that they're not happy, or are they already have made a move and they want to progress?
So typically, the people that I work with are pretty well established in that they have a business and the business has been around for at least 2 to 5 years.
Okay.
But they're still very much in the infancy. They're ready to take it to the next level. And as a solopreneur, which is often who I'm working with currently anyway.
Solopreneur, define that for me, Samantha.
It's really just them. They're wearing all the hats. They're doing everything. It's just
they're
them.
The accountant and the bookkeeper
Exactly.
and the lawyer and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And they've brought it as far as they can alone. And whether they're ready to bring on a team or really just elevate their business from, where it is today to where they want to go, that's where I come in. I help them build that roadmap. So yeah, people who are, they're still new-ish. Mm-hmm. They've got a proven concept, which is great. It's profitable. It's making money, and now they just need help to make even more.
To go to the next level. Okay, so that's what you do as a coach. I want to get to your book. I love the title, Bossing Up.
Thank you.
And you don't mean bossing like boss somebody around. I think you mean a different kind of bossing. When I was looking at your book, which I have and I've actually read and then went through it again in preparation of you coming in, you define bossing up as the act of elevating your inner boss and creating success. What is an inner boss, Samantha?
I really think it's that ideal self that you have the potential to be, and for whatever reason, you're either too afraid, life has gotten in the way, and you kind of keep pushing it down. And so what the book does really is give you tools to help really pull that to the surface and be that ideal version of you.
That's Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. So you're talking about people who know that they have something more. They have something deeper within them. Is it usually that people think they deserve more money, or can it be that they just deserve more recognition, more responsibility? I mean, does it vary?
It does. It does really vary, but the people that I work with mostly are not in it for the money. We're living in a generation and an era where people just want to feel fulfilled. And I think money is definitely a part of it. A lot of people want to live, financially comfortable lives, but this idea of doing something that is passionate, deeply rooted within them, and bringing that, giving that, sharing it with the world, that's seemingly more important with the people I work with anyway.
That's so interesting that you're saying that, because I was at a conference last week, an entrepreneur conference, and I'm going to talk about that actually the second half of the show, because that's where the authenticity comes up for me, some of the things that I was hearing there. But a lot of those people were really focused on the money. That is what they were wanting to do. So it's interesting for me to hear you say the opposite, because you're saying that at the end of the day, people just want to feel fulfilled. They want to feel passionate. So how can you do that but still make ends meet? You know what I mean? Because maybe what you're passionate about is not really something that can make you some money.
I think there's a niche for everything. And with the internet, I mean, you just need a laptop and internet connection.
That's true.
Anything can be profitable. And I mean, like,
right, like so while you're sitting at the beach in Turks and Caicos, for example, you can be profitable.
Life goals, right? If I could be coaching from Turks and Caicos, then I would be happy.
Let's do the next segment of this show. You'll be my guest. You'll be my first one in Turks and Caicos.
All for it. All for it. But no, I think this idea of being able to turn an idea into profit is easier now than it has been. And it's really about knowing your audience and making sure that what you have is either proprietary or it can exist, but you have to be better at it than other people. And you've got to position yourself in a way where, depending on what you're offering, you've got a funnel, your message is out there, you're getting people in, and you have something that is a hook that will get them interested. And if you provide value, people are willing to part with their dollars. Everyone wants to make their lives better, and if you can help them do that, you got a business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. You're listening to CJAD800. This is Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Samantha has some great tips about bossing up and getting the kind of career you want. Give us a call if you have a question for her, 514-790-0800. Or, of course, you can text us your question at 514-800. I want to hear about how you have taken your own career into your own hands and bossed yourself up. I don't know if I'm using the term right. It's all variations, but I like the term.
So do I.
Samantha, you talk about in your book, you talk about success stoppers. So these are things that a lot of mistakes that people make that get them from moving forward. What can you share with me about that?
I'd say, a lot of times I see people just getting in their own way. And there are, several ways that we stop ourselves from succeeding. We talk a lot about fear, fear of failure, but fear of success is a very real thing as well. And I work with a lot of people who just, whether it's their relationship that's prohibiting them from moving forward, personal or professional, they are afraid, what if I actually live up to my full potential and I get all the opportunity, then what?
Do you think that people are afraid in that respect, Samantha, that what if I get everything that I think I want, but in the end I realize that it's not? Do you think it's that, or do you just think that people wouldn't know what to do if they've achieved their goals and it feels uncomfortable, or maybe jealousy from other people? What's that about?
So I have two sides of the business where I work with entrepreneurs, and I'll work with developing strategies for more corporate style businesses as well. And the closer I work with executive teams, the more I realize that it really is, I've got what I thought I wanted and I'm still not happy. So that kind of goes back to, well, what does success mean to you? Because if you've been chasing this imposed or, this idea of success that wasn't yours to begin with, of course, when you achieve it, you're not going to feel fulfilled.
That's so interesting. And I want to talk to you about that. That's Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. You're just talking, Samantha, about the importance of really evaluating properly what it is that you want.
Right.
And I know that just speaking for myself, here I went to school to be a social worker. I went through all this schooling, and now here I am in a world of media. So I think that if I would have evaluated things back then, I wouldn't have ever thought this is where I want to be. So we're going to talk about that, Samantha. I want you to give me some tips of what people, the questions that people can answer themselves to properly evaluate where they, I guess, think they want to be.
Right.
But first, Lauren, I want to hear what's going on the roads. What's out there?
Gonna make a change.
Welcome back. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night, starting off with a little Michael Jackson. I love that song, Man in the Mirror, and it's perfectly themed for the guests that we have in here today. We've got sitting across from me the beautiful Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. Beautiful and intelligent, I should say that. We should never just focus on just looks.
I'm going to stop by here more often. This is great.
But no, our next one's in Turks and Caicos. That's what we talked about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So Samantha Kris is the author of Bossing Up, and we're talking about how to elevate yourself, to change where you're going, your direction in life. We're focusing really on business right now, how to make those changes. Before we were listening for that traffic update, Samantha, we were talking about how important it is to really evaluate what it is that you mean by success. So tell me, what are some questions that I could ask myself? I said, like, I went to graduate school and I got my degree in social work. Here I am in media. I don't think that I really thought about this at that time, but let's say right now in my life, as I'm transitioning from one career to the next, what are those questions that I should be asking myself?
So I'm a really hands-on type of person, and the questions that I like to ask really probe kind of internal. It really gets you thinking, right?
Okay,
you
like
want
self-reflection.
Right. You want to listen more than you want to speak when it comes to trying to figure this out.
Oh, no. I have to listen?
Yeah, I know it can be tough, particularly when it's, listening to yourself. But really what I like to do is identify, what do you think success looks like for you? Don't overthink it. Just what does it look like? Kind of brain dump. Put that out on a Bristol board, get that on your phone or in a kind of a brain cloud. And then think about the top words that best define who you are. And let your brain roam free. What I like to see there is then narrow it down to your top 10 and do those words correspond with your vision of success.
Interesting. If
there's a discrepancy, try and focus on what those words mean to you and what you can do to get that out of the life you want to live. If you find that they're actually well aligned, try to explore the options in which that, would be the easiest path or most efficient or fun path to bring it to reality.
Okay, that's Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Now, Samantha, these tips are actually probably really good anyways for personal development, even if it's not your career. It's kind of, making a list of what you want and who you think you are, and do those two things match, and how could you get there? But one of the things also you talk about in your book, which I really like, and it's something that I'm personally working on all the time, is eliminating all the things that don't serve us. And I try and talk to myself a lot about that, is, how is this helping me right now? It's not, so I have to let that go. To me, that would seem like that's really the stopper for most people.
It's a tough one because we don't even realize we're keeping some of our blockers in our way, or sometimes we feel like we can't let them go. But one of the ways that I find is most helpful for me, I like to think big picture. I've got my goal. I'm looking at really what it is I want to achieve. And I start to identify the paths that will get me there. If what I'm doing or who's in my life derails me, takes me off route from that path, and makes it harder to feed into my big goal, I really need to consider, is this something that is worth the effort? Because it's a roadblock.
Samantha Kris, author of Bossing Up, CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. Samantha, that's a tall order. You're suggesting that people are reflecting not only on themselves, but really on their relationships and the people they have surrounding them. I feel very fortunate because my husband is a great cheerleader for me. He's always supporting
I've met him.
me.
He's great.
Yeah, he really is fantastic. He's always supporting me with whatever maybe crazy ideas or not so crazy. He's always like, yeah, I'm behind you. That's great. And I'm not even just talking about my husband, but it could be other people, my mom, my sister, whoever. I have a lot of people around me who support me. How can people really make those major dramatic changes in relationships? How can people do that?
So I'd like to focus on, when cutting something out is too difficult, what else can you bring in? So if you're feeling a lack of support from a very important relationship, whether it's a partner, a parent, a boss, what else can you do in your life that would help bring that support in? Is it your network? Does it mean you want to go and
Well, maybe like your Bossing Up community, for example, because these are kind of like...
That's a good one.
Well, it's true. I mean, that's kind of like a shameless plug, but it actually was just a natural thing I was saying because I am a member of that community, and I really like it because if I'm saying, I've, like tonight doing open mic, I posted that today saying, I'm feeling a bit nervous, and I got some responses back like, don't worry about it, you got it.
Right.
So it's true. You can look to other people who are maybe in your situation.
And I think it's something that is to, keep in mind as well is just because you're not getting something from someone in particular doesn't mean you have to cut them out. It just means that there's...
Maybe redefine their role.
Right. There's something that you're not getting that you need. See how else in your life you can get it.
That's really good advice. That's Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. This is Open Mic Night on CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Okay, another thing, one of your chapters, and I love, again, the title is chapter. You've got some very clever titles. Did you come up with all those, or did you work with someone? I'm just curious.
You know what? I did get some input from friends and family, but there wasn't a professional input. It was just like, hey, guys, I need to sound funnier than I am. Here's my idea. Help me out here.
Yeah, but your titles are actually, many of them are funny. One you talked about was Control Alt Delete, and we just talked about that. But this chapter that I want to mention, you call it Wing It. To be honest, I'm totally winging it. My life, my eyeliner, my everything. And I have to tell you, Samantha, I completely relate to that. So again, I'm speaking with Samantha Kris, author of Bossing Up. Stephanie Erickson here for CJAD800 Open Mic Night. So my eyeliner, my everything, I'm also winging it. So what do you
feel you, girl?
Yeah. So like, what is that chapter about? What are you saying? Is that, look, nobody really knows what they're doing?
I mean, I wouldn't say nobody, but I studied criminology. This is not the path that
Really?
I thought I was going to be on either. Yeah, this is.
What did you think you were going to be doing?
I honestly thought that would be my trajectory.
But like, how did you imagine your job? Like, as a criminologist, what would you be doing? I'm just curious.
I started as an addictions counselor.
Okay.
And I didn't think that I would be there either, but that was my placement out of college, and I really enjoyed it. But I discovered that it was something that I really enjoyed learning more about as opposed to working in. And then I went into wedding planning, and I ended up in marketing.
God.
And so like I just went around
all
the
over
block
the
a few
map.
times.
Okay, so you were winging it.
Yeah, totally.
So how do you balance, like, giving yourself a break and knowing that things take time and you're going to make mistakes, but at the same time staying focused? Like, how do you strike the balance?
I think it's because I like to focus my objective and what I put my energy in is growth, not a finish line. And so no matter what I do, no matter what path I end up taking, if I can grow from it, I'm moving forward. And that keeps me motivated, gives me the momentum to keep moving.
So the process is just as important, or sometimes more important, than even the deadline you would get to. I'm speaking with Samantha Kris. She's the author of Bossing Up. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Samantha, let's hit on that point again. You're talking about, like, it's not and you say this too in your book, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Because anyone, entrepreneur, or even in your personal life, when you know you're progressing, but you hit those roadblocks and they feel very heavy. And I certainly have felt that way before, where I feel, things aren't happening fast enough. I want this, I want that. And I start getting kind of down. What do you suggest people do along the way to maybe prevent the dips being as big as they are, or how to pull themselves out of it?
So I'm a huge advocate for goal setting. And part of what I write about in the book, and something that I'm very vocal about, since it's come out, is this idea of real goals. And it's setting goals that are resonant, empowering, actionable, and lucrative. So by breaking your goals out into those phases and seeing what steps you need to take to make it possible, even when you hit those points where you're like, what is it all for? Is it even worth it? You can see visually how what you're doing today feeds up into your vision of success. And it's no longer a question of, is it worth it? Do I really feel like I need to do this today? Because you see directly how it impacts where you want to get to. It helps to keep moving without second guessing and feeling like, just kind of weighed down by it.
Yeah, that's Samantha Kris, author of Bossing Up. This is Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is CJAD800. Samantha, you said resonate, goals that resonate, they're empowering, actionable, and what was the fourth thing you said?
Lucrative.
Yeah. Okay. That's the one I missed. Clearly, I'm doing this out of passion and not because I'm wanting to earn any money, because I'm not even thinking about that goal. Let's talk about actionable, because you also were talking about we need to be real. So I want some pretty clear tips that I can take away and that everyone can take away. So when you're talking about actionable goals, you're talking about realistic things that people can do. So give me an example of how that would work.
It's the idea of taking this Herculean task and idea and end goal and breaking it down into something that you can do every day, or at the very least every week. Okay,
so let's take this. I want my own show on CJAD. So let's break it down. How do I get there? No, I just in terms of just showing it how it works.
Gosh,
how do I
got
it?
Just 2 minutes left. How do we break it down? All right.
Okay.
So I would suggest, looking into what do you need to prove as far as metrics? How can you get those? How do you make sure that whatever you deliver will help check those metrics week after week, show after show, and kind of build the case for, this is what you guys are missing out on. If I'm not on CJAD, this is really what you need.
That sounds a bit cocky. Yeah, it sounds a bit cocky. I'm not sure how that would come across.
You don't have to, say it quite as such, but to have that plan prepared, to think about really what value do you bring and why shouldn't they don't want to think about not having you. That would be detrimental.
And I think, but the part that I like that you're saying is that you're breaking it down into small steps. So let's say you want your own show. This is the first thing you do. Here's the second. Here's the third. So I guess if I'm feeling impatient, like, geez, I'm not there yet, I can look back and say, yes, but I've already tackled 1 and 2, and I'm on my way, and it can keep me a bit more positive. So Samantha, I know that you've got your book, Bossing Up, Samantha Kris. You can find it on your website, but tell people how they can get a hold of you if they want to hire you as a coach or get a hold of your book.
All the information is at Samantha Kris, that's Kris with a K.com, and the Bossing Up Members Area Facebook group, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's a great group, and join. I'd like to connect with you as well. Samantha, I don't know how you feel about this, but coming up, I'm going to be talking about authenticity and social media.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes, because I find that people post things, I'm not really sure that that's their life, because I'm like, really? Everybody has this most amazing life? I have to say, though, I'm not exactly posting, videos of me yelling at my kids to brush their teeth, or, oh, my husband and I had a fight today and I'm posting about that. But I do find that it's really hard to know who we are in a world of social media because we're worried about likes and follows and views and that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to be talking about that. But first, once again, I want to hear what's going on the roads. Lauren, what's happening? That's a nice, upbeat, funky song. Thank you very much, Andrew. This is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I am Stephanie Erickson. Before we were hearing from Lauren about the traffic update, I was talking to my last guest, Samantha Kris, about authenticity in social media. I want to tell you a bit about where that came from for me. So last week, I was at a conference, and I was part of the media team. So my role was to interview the attendees and the panelists and even the keynote speakers. It was actually a really cool experience professionally to do that. But what was so interesting was that every single person almost that I spoke with was talking to me about authenticity. Now, the conference was for entrepreneurs. So obviously they were there talking about business and how to take their business to the next level. And everyone was saying to me, oh, we have to be authentic. We have to be authentic. That's what people want. That's what's going to take our business to the next level. That in of itself sounded kind of weird to me. If you're saying I have to be authentic, then already in my mind, you're kind of like not being authentic. But it was just making me think a bit about social media, because a lot of these entrepreneurs that were there were talking about how they were going to be using social media to take their business to the next level. And through social media and videos and that kind of thing, they want to show their customers and their clients their authentic voice. So it got me to thinking about social media and authenticity. And I'm not so sure that those two things mix. And I really want to hear from you. What do you think about authenticity in social media? Can we really be authentic when we're so busy posting pretty much all the good things that are going on in our life and wondering how everybody is feeling about us? Give me a call, 514-790-0800, or text me a comment to 514-800. So what I did was I actually looked up authenticity in the dictionary because I was just kind of curious. Well, online, and it wasn't Wikipedia, it was actually the dictionary. And it was defined as being true to one's own personality, spirit, or character, to be sincere with no pretensions. This is what I find so interesting, because in all the posts that I see on social media, everyone is talking about all the good things that are happening in their life. I have a friend who is in a horrible marriage. She's very unhappy. I know she wants to leave her husband, yet she posts pictures of them and makes comments about how awesome her husband is. So to me, she's not really being authentic online. Now, she is with me, so I know in our personal one-on-one conversation she is. But so what's the line? Do you post the negative stuff online, or is that kind of like breaking some personal boundaries? Do you just avoid what's going on, the real stuff in your life, and only post the good things that are happening? I'm just curious what you think. Give me a call. Stephanie Erickson here, CJAD800. This is Open Mic Night, talking about authenticity and social media. Would love to hear your thoughts. 514-790-0800, or you can text me at 514-800. The other thing I find about social media, and I have to say I'm guilty of this, is that we're looking at the likes and the comments and the follows and the shares, and we're kind of judging ourselves and our value based on what other people are saying. So if we're doing that, like if I post something and I say, oh, whatever, 30 people liked that, therefore I'm going to change what I post in order to meet other people's expectations of me, or to do what other people think I should be doing. So then am I really being my authentic self? Do I even know who I am? I think I know who I am. I try really hard to be authentic on social media, but I think the other piece also is that everybody can see every single thing that we do all the time, and it's there forever. So if I do post something on social media that's maybe not so positive about myself or other people in my life, it's going to be there forever. And do I really want that out there? So is that the motivation? I don't know. What do you think? 514-800 is the text, or you can give me a call at 514-790-0800. Interested in hearing about what you think about social media. And also, is there a difference? Like, is Facebook one kind of post, Instagram, and I'm going to date myself here, Snapchat? I think that's what it's called. I don't know what Snapchat, Twitter. Actually, Twitter doesn't seem to be around so much anymore. But I'm curious, how do we know who we are if we're always putting it out there for other people to judge and evaluate us? I'm just curious of your thoughts. Looks like we've got a caller on the line. We've got Mark. Hi, Mark. Welcome in.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Nice to speak with you. Thanks for calling in. So, Mark, are people fulfilling their lives based on what other people think? Are they not being authentic to themselves? What do you think?
I think with how social media is put together for us, it's a great tool to use for personal and professional use. But the uniqueness of it that I'm finding is that people tend to be hiding behind the idea of words. So to challenge the authenticity of themselves, it's hard for them to be themselves and be real because they can cover themselves up through words.
So that's interesting, Mark. I want to mention a text that I just got. Stay here, though, Mark, because I want to come back to you. And this person said, kind of, I think what you're trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong. This texter said, I think we can sometimes see the true nature of people on social media because they can say what they wouldn't dare say to someone's face. So that's kind of a different take on it. This person is suggesting that, I guess, we're more bold.
We are more bold in the sense that we can hide and not worry about being a victim or be ashamed or have feelings of guilt. Due to lack of self-awareness, people don't really know who they are. So what ends up happening is with social media, they can portray themselves to be whoever they want to be, and their reality is never disclosed unless it's in a private setting with someone. As you said in the show, you have a friend who you're close with and you know the truth. But at the same time, most people out there will not bear the truth because they don't want to deal with the shame, guilt, stigma, or whatever that may come with it. And people wouldn't believe or can't believe that they're going through this problem.
But do you think, though, wait, Mark, let me play devil's advocate. Do you think that someone, though, could get maybe support that they would need by posting something? In other words, let's say I'm getting a divorce or something, which I'm not, as I was saying in the first half hour. My husband's great. This is a complete hypothetical, not going to happen. But let's say I'm getting a divorce and I need support. Shouldn't I post that and be authentic and say I'm going through a hard time? Because I would imagine that people would respond nicely to me. But you're saying maybe some people would be judgmental and say, how could you get a divorce? You have children. How horrible.
It is my personal opinion that we should always keep things private instead of making them public. I think the best time to make things public is when you are on the road to recovery or improving yourself, and then you can highlight the journey that you actually went through to give people hope who are going through it, to say, look, I went through this 6 months ago. I had to make this decision within that 6 months. I got help within that time, and then I'm actually on the road to recovery. That's a completely different post of putting that out there than just putting out a problem to see what people are going to say, because in actuality, we live in a world where negative news is the best news.
Yeah,
And
well, yeah.
And people will critique that and actually take that, and they can crush people's emotions, mental health, their
That's
feelings.
true, and I
and
have
put
seen
people in a bad position.
And to the first texter's point, you're listening to CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Mark is on the line with me. To your to the point that you're just making, that first texter that I was talking about, that person said that sometimes we can see the true nature of people on social media because they wouldn't dare say what they say to someone else's face. Thank you so much, Mark, for calling in and joining the show. I appreciate it. Have a good evening. I just want to mention another text that just came in, and this kind of speaks to Mark's point as well. This person wrote, after my breakup, I did not post it. Wish I did. I didn't post because I was coming out of psychological abuse and felt the shame to share. Well, first of all, I want to just say how horrible, and I'm sorry that you experienced psychological abuse. That sounds terrible. But I think that's what Mark, that caller, was just talking about, is that we feel like maybe we're going to be judged. Someone actually last week I saw post, as someone that I'm connected to, she posted something where she had experienced, she was a part of this group, some sort of a mommy group, and she posted something and she said people just railed into her. They were humiliating her, making her feel awful. So she left the group, number one. But I think that makes that point too. So back to this authenticity piece, to just wrap it around. Some people are suggesting that in order to be authentic, we only just post the minimum stuff, and then we only share those intimate details, maybe one-on-one with people. I'm not really sure where I am on this. I tend to be someone who says too much than too little. So anyways, a lot of people tell me to keep my opinions to myself, and yet here I am on air sharing my opinions with everybody. Just a last text came in I just want to mention. Someone just wrote, people will seldom display negative news on social media, perhaps as opposition to the always negative news on traditional media. Well, that's a really interesting point too. There's so much negativity out there, maybe people just want to fill up the world with love. Well, that's certainly an interesting topic.
Won't judge you, 'cause it could get ugly before it gets beautiful.
You're listening to CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. We have a little change going on. My next guest, we're going to talk about HIV and stigma, and I don't know, I'll find out at the traffic break, Lauren, if maybe something happened to him out there on the roads. But thankfully, I've got my next guest following him already in studio. So we're going to just jump right ahead to that topic. So I try really hard, and I was talking about this in the previous segment there. I try really hard to say what I mean, particularly when it comes to my relationship. I would say when I was younger, I will be honest, I was probably a bit more passive aggressive, would not always say what I mean, would expect people to interpret my hidden messages and such. I don't know, maybe my husband will text in later, but I think I'm pretty good about saying exactly what I mean. I'll let you know, Frank, if he texts. I'll see his phone number coming up. But I do think that a lot of women in particular, and I hope I'm not offending too many people here, but I do think that women in general tend to want their guys, their husbands, their partners, their boyfriends to sort of guess what it is that they really mean. Or they'll say things like, oh, no, I'm fine. But really, they're not fine. They're really angry, and they're wanting their husband, partner, whatever, to say something. The poor guy doesn't do it because he doesn't know, because we didn't tell him. And now a whole fight ensues, and then, whatever, et cetera, a lot of things happen. So we're going to talk about this. Now, the title of this book is Genius. And my guest, Frank Kerman, he told me the credit goes to his wife, so I'll throw it out there because I know she's the one who came up with the title, right?
Well, she's a big fan of the title.
Yeah. It's a great title. So Frank Kerman's a relationship coach, and he has a book that's called Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, which I absolutely love. Frank is a regular here at CJD. He's a guest all the time, and he has a monthly segment the last Wednesday of every month on the Lori Petito Show, Passion, right? It's the last Wednesday of every month, Frank?
Last Wednesday of every month. It's the monthly feature called Dating Dilemmas.
Dating Dilemmas. Okay. Well, I hope to never have to need that feature, although I would like to listen to it, but I hope to never need it. I want to hear from you now out there. If you're a woman, what kinds of tests have you put your husband or boyfriend through? Be honest with me. Tell me, what did you say, but you really meant something else? And if you're a guy out there who's trying really hard to pass the test of the female language, give me a call, 514-790-800, or text at 514-800. Okay, so let's talk about the title. Tell me about it. Why is everything a test?
Okay, everything out of her mouth is a test, a guide to satisfying the emotional needs of women. Let's be clear, first and foremost, not everything she says and does is a test.
Like if I say, do you want chicken tonight?
What you might actually mean is, do you want chicken tonight? Okay?
Okay.
What that particular mind frame does is that it takes someone who's not used to looking for the emotional need behind the words or actions to start thinking in terms of, what is this person really trying to communicate?
Okay, so really, I mean, I know that this is about women, and we are going to talk about that, but what you just said there, Frank, that's Frank Kermit. He's the author of Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test, and he's also a regular on the Lori Petito Show last Wednesday of every month. This is CJAD800, Stephanie Erickson, Open Mic Night. What you just said, Frank, really applies, though, to communication in general.
That's
is that
right.
We do want to understand what somebody really means under that. But why don't we just say, I'm not sure I understood? Why don't we just ask for a follow-up statement? I mean, why are we guessing?
We're not guessing.
Okay.
There's very specific emotional needs that I have identified through my journey.
Okay.
And your chances of getting it right are 1 out of 10.
Oh, my
So if
God.
you have to guess, you got a 1 in 10 chance. And if you can at least eliminate the ones you're sure that it's not, you're probably aiming at 1 out of 5.
Oh, my God.
The nice thing about emotional needs is that if you do happen to get the wrong one, because the person is feeling satisfied and is going to respond to you on an emotional level, they're more likely going to be interested in sticking around and until we get to that particular emotional need that's actually been expressed.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Frank Kermit talking. This is CJAD 800. Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. So, Frank, you're talking about the 10 emotional needs of women. Now, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get to all 10. We'll get to some of them. But first, before we get to that, I want to talk a bit about the subconscious statement and action. You talk about that in your book, like you're defining what the test is, and I'm referring to your title. It's a subconscious statement or action to find out how a man really feels about the woman. So when we say something as a woman, when I say something to my husband, subconsciously, his answer is going to tell me how he feels about me?
His answer is going to be a means for you to evaluate whether or not he's someone that you're going to want to either stay with, commit to, possibly start a family with, or if you're feeling the sense that you want to get away. Emotional needs specifically is not about what we like. It's about what we emotionally respond to.
Okay.
Intellectually, we all have this concept of what is something I like, such as you ask someone, what are you looking for in a relationship? Well, I want someone who treats me nicely. I want someone that I can really trust. I want someone who really gets me. I want someone who enjoys my sense of humor. Now, these are wonderful intellectual ideals that we could put on a
But
list.
my question would be, so what do you mean someone you can trust? What's a way I can show you how you can trust me?
Someone who makes you feel that you can trust them. The problem is, what we think we want and what we emotionally respond to are not always the same thing. So you might be looking for somebody who treats you nice. But when you're with someone who actually treats you nice, you may not be feeling an emotional pull. You may not be responding to them emotionally, and you might even reject someone who has everything on your list.
Right.
But you're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And then there's someone else who does not have things that you have said you want on your list, but you can't help it. There's just some chemistry there. There's some kind of a pull. And that's what we talk about with emotional needs.
So that's Frank Kermit. He's the author of Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. This is CJAD 800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Frank, you kind of just described, I think, what a lot of women talk about. Well, what happens for a lot of women, it's kind of like this bad boy complex where I think that I want all of these things out of my guy, and then I get them and it's just not right, and then I go for this guy who's not meeting any of my needs. But that seems to me more about the woman. But you're saying that this nice guy, so this guy that does meet the criteria, there is something he can do to make that connection.
And that's what I do. The majority of my practice are basically nice guys that want to get a girlfriend.
Oh, well, that's pretty basic. Okay, so tell me, I'm a nice guy. I'll lower my voice. I'm a nice guy. I have all the traits that this person would want, but I can't seem to get a girlfriend. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is how assertive are you? Because women will emotionally respond to men who are assertive.
And not aggressive.
And not aggressive. We're not talking about being domineering, but we are looking for someone that is willing to stand up for himself, willing to say, no, I'm not tolerating bad behavior from anyone, and willing to take the lead sometimes when it could be something as simple as a woman says to her husband, I want to go out for dinner tonight. And what does the guy say? Does he say, okay, we're going to go to that new restaurant that we talked about?
What do you want?
What do you want to do?
But I feel bad for guys because that's so nice to say, well, what do you want?
And that's what the nice guy does. Unfortunately, as much as it's nice, women don't respond to that emotionally. Now, once in a while, sure, it's a nice...
Okay, well, I'll make a note to my husband right now in case he's listening. I do respond to that. Go ahead and ask me what I want.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Frank, just trying to make a joke here, but
not a problem.
But I hear what you're saying. So women want a guy who can kind of take control and say, I'm going to make these decisions.
And one of the reasons that women will sometimes choose the bad boy and the jerks is because, yes, they may be overly aggressive, but it's looking at the option of, do I go with the nice guy who's never assertive and I don't respond emotionally, or do I go with the guy who's too assertive, maybe to the point of aggressiveness, but at least I can feel some pull, some sense of attraction.
And I guess the key, and I'll just use this dinner example, is that an assertive guy who can be really nice, the way he can be nice is he says, we're going to go here for dinner, but what he's doing is he's choosing a place that she's mentioned sometime. She's read a review on this restaurant or something like that, so he can still be the nice guy. Like, I hear you, I know what it is you like, but at the same time, I'm going to be assertive and I'm going to make a decision.
It's okay to be giving. It's okay to be generous. It's not okay to allow yourself to be taken advantage of. And that's where the line is drawn.
You mentioned lots of other points in your book. I mean, the book is lengthy. It must have taken you a long time to write that because this is really long. Did it take a long time?
Well, that book is originally based on my journals, and we're looking at over 1,000 pages of journal
Oh my God.
that I wrote over the course of 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so there's lots of tips, and we're going to get to some. Some of the things that I want to talk about. You talk about the protection of her reputation is something that's really important, and that's where I want to follow up with. But first, Lauren, tell me, what happened to my guest? Is that why he's not here? Do we have problems? Such a nice song. I mean, that is a really nice song. CJAD800 News Talk Radio. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. I have in studio with me Frank Kermit. He is the author of Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. I can verify that that's almost 100% true. No, I'm just kidding. And he's also a regular on Laura Bettito's show the last Wednesday of every month. Her show is called Passion, so you can catch him there too. He does a segment called Dating Dilemma. Frank, really glad you're here. Before we went out to the news, I was asking you about one of the emotional needs you say women have. You say they have 10. I'd have to debate with you. I think they might have about 89.
Well, to be clear, people have more than just 10 emotional needs in general.
Of course.
These are the 10 that I have identified.
It's like the Cliff Notes.
It's more, it's like the Cliff Notes. It's a combination. If you can address these particular 10, depending on the woman, of course, because each woman is different, just like each man is different.
Absolutely.
Some emotional needs for one person may be very, very important. For someone else, not important at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think, and when we were talking about the good boy, bad boy, this and that, I think as I was mentioning, my husband's a really nice guy. There would probably be some women who wouldn't like that, and women are different. I happen to really think that he's great. But let's get back to some of those emotional needs. One of the things you talked about, I find this so interesting, is the protection of her reputation. And in your book, you were talking about an example where a guy has a friend who doesn't like the wife, and what does the guy do? And for the man, he needs to think about it in a way where he's protecting the woman's reputation. Is that right?
Yes, that's one example. Now, protection of reputation is actually the common emotional need between men and women. It's just different levels. For a woman, if she knows that her reputation will be protected no matter what happens between the two of you. She's going to be a lot more open to giving you a chance for dating.
And when you're talking about reputation, I'm sorry, I just want to be clear, Frank, you mean like how other people are going to view her outside of the two of them? Is that what you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
But her reputation could be anything from what he may post about her online, what he may tell his friends and family about her, the way he talks about her to people passing by, the way he presents himself to her social circles, which could negatively impact her reputation.
Yeah.
And when a man does not present himself as someone who protects a woman's reputation, her guard has to go up.
That's right.
And as soon as her guard is up, she now feels like a mother. She now feels like the mother with those kids that, oh boy, I hope my kid doesn't say something that's going to embarrass me. She can't relax. She can't drop her guard.
I want to get to that point. Hold that thought. That's Frank Kermit. He's written the book, Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. He's also regular on the Laura Betito Show here on CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. I want to hear from you guys. How is your woman testing you? Maybe Frank has some advice for you of how you can get around that. He's nodding his head. So give us a call, 514-790-0800, or you can text us at 514-800. What you just mentioned something about either that a woman will look at as her husband as like she's his mother or the partner. So that's a point that I actually took note of, that you said a woman is either a lover or a mother. So this is so much pressure for a guy. I feel bad for men as I'm reading through your tips and stuff, because it's kind of like he can make one, little wrong move and all of a sudden we don't think of him as our lover anymore. No?
Well, first of all, any relationship takes work. Okay, whether you just want to go out and date or you want to be in a serious relationship or a number of casual relationships, all relationships take work.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the first thing. Once you learn to identify the emotional needs and address them, we're talking about repeating behavior patterns. Once you're used to certain behavior patterns, once, for example, you learn how to protect people's reputations in general, it becomes a lot easier because it's the same behavior patterns that you're exhibiting all the time.
So it applies to all relationships.
It applies to all relationships. Yeah. The next thing is that a woman, when I say a woman can either be a mother or a lover, she cannot be both. It means that she cannot be both at the same time.
Okay.
And it's going to happen over the course of your life where sometimes you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say the wrong thing. We're human beings. Nobody's perfect. What we look at is we look at the overall issue. Now, is a guy going to address every emotional need a woman has? No.
Impossible.
The same way that a woman will not address all of the emotional needs of her man consistently. That's the key. It's consistent.
It's a consistent thing.
Is it always going to be consistent? No. People are not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. But if you address more than you violate, or if you address more than you're neutral on, the attraction will be there.
Okay.
Here's what I've seen happen when I'm helping couples who have been together for, let's say, a number of years. She starts off feeling like a lover. She ends up feeling like his mother. Right.
Over time, after she's picking up his socks all over the floor.
You got it.
You're listening to Frank Kermit, the author of Everything Out of Her Mouth is a Test. Stephanie Erickson here, Open Mic Night, and this is CJAD 800. So you're saying that there's a balance. We have to, we're all human. Relationships take work. There has to be some sort of a balance. But basically, your underlying principles, for example, that her reputation is important, and what can he do to protect that? If he can consistently do that, that's going to kind of tip the scales to her looking at him as more of a lover and not feeling like his mother. So one of the other things you talk about in terms of emotional needs for women is catering to the little girl in her. What do you mean by that?
Okay, within the adult, there is a child. So you can cater to the little girl in someone by talking about what are some of your favorite childhood memories. Are you having a bad day? Well, maybe taking you out for an ice cream cone, doing something fun, doing something kid-like almost. Sometimes a great date could just be going to an arts and crafts show and sitting down and doing some coloring. Things that someone would want to do when they were a child. There's a certain relief and a certain pressure that's removed from women when they get to explore that inner child that doesn't have to be perfect.
Well, and I think too for women, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but we're very in our heads, right? And we always are feeling so much pressure. So it's true, it would be a relief to just kind of relax and have some fun, because it just always feels like life is heavy and there's so much to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay, so my husband can take me out and we can do some coloring. I prefer the ice cream, by the way. That sounds like a much better time. Let me get to another one. You also said one of the emotional needs of a woman is about fear. She can fear abandonment. So again, a guy kind of has to be her protector, or are you talking about emotional abandonment?
Emotional abandonment. Well, the best way that a guy can address this need is remind her how she is unique to him. You tell a woman, you know what, you're beautiful. Well, that's nice. But she knows that she may not feel like the most beautiful person on the planet at the moment. She knows that there's other women who may be a little bit more beautiful. However, if he turns to her and says, you're the only one who gets me when it comes to this. You're the only one who, or it could be a combination of things. We have similar backgrounds. We have similar interests. I wasn't able to find anybody else other than you who can really understand me and get me, or has this combination of unique traits that altogether make you someone that I can't find anywhere else.
So you're talking about being really specific. I love this advice, Frank. Hopefully other people out there like it. How can people get a hold of you if they want to hire you? Because I know you're a relationship coach too. So it's franktalks.com, is that right?
franktalks.com. Over 20 books, over 20 audio programs.
Amazing.
And a lot of coaching.
Good. And you can also hear him the last Wednesday of every month on the Laura Bettito Show here on CJAD800. Now, what happened to my guest, Laura? Now we're going to traffic. What happened? What's going on the roads? You're listening to CJAD 800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. Oh, I'm going to talk about something that's kind of sad for me. I always get choked up when I talk about her. I had this dog, had her for 13 years, and she was such a special part of my life. I still think about her. I still look at pictures of her. I have another dog now, and when I see him do certain things, it makes me think of her, and I really miss her a lot. And I'm really excited because tonight I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to connect with her. Sounds kind of weird, no? Well, not really. I've got a great guest. He's not in studio, but we got him on the phone. I think he lives in Arizona. He is a psychic pet medium, and his name is Charles Peden, and he can actually connect with dogs that are deceased or dogs that are even living. If you have any questions about a current, or not dogs, any animals actually, any animal deceased or living, he can connect with that animal and give you some information. So make sure that you give me a call, 514-790-0800. And texting, I don't think will work as well. So definitely give me a call, 514-790-0800. Of course, you can text if you want, 514-800. Charles, thank you so much for being here.
Stephanie, thanks for having me on.
Okay, super excited. So Charles, I know that I said that it's kind of weird, and I'm only saying that because when I was telling people that you were coming on the show, I got some weird faces back to me. I think people were surprised that someone communicates with animals alive or deceased. You must get that a lot, huh?
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the conversation I had with my mother many years ago when I sat down with her and I said, you know, I think I'm going to quit doing what I'm doing and I'm going to go into work as a Ghostbuster. At the time, I had no idea I could actually talk to animals, too.
Oh, okay, so you started out doing something else. Okay.
Down with her son where she goes, you know, you have a family to think about and all these other things. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, but kind of being pushed in this direction. So I sold my business. I used to be a sea glass aficionado. I had a business called By the Bay Treasures.
Which is actually not the most common business either, sea glass. So you're kind of out there in terms of careers. Maybe we should have had you on with our first guest, Samantha Kris, because you're a prime example of following what you like with your work. So, Charles, yes. You know, there's so many people that have animals. I mean, in Canada, I know you're in Arizona, but in Canada, we've got about 5 million dogs in homes and 7.9 million cats.
Many of them.
Yeah, I'm sure you have, because I know
you get a lot of clientele in Canada. Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I know that you can do your work over the phone. So
that's correct.
First, before we get into it, because I do want you to try and connect with my dog, but before we get into that, just tell me, when people call you or they're interested in you, do they have more questions about an animal that has died, or are they asking you about an animal that's missing, or an animal that they have that's having some problems? Why are people calling you?
It's really a bit of everything.
Okay.
I think you touched on several of them there, and frequently I'll get something goes like this. You know, I've got an animal in spirit. I've got a new animal. I want to talk to the one in spirit, and I want to talk to the one I got now.
Okay.
And so that's a very common occurrance. And then, of course, the missing animals. Yes, absolutely. Animals go missing every day, sadly, for many reasons.
Yeah.
And I can't help in every situation. I'll be quite honest. Sometimes they do run away intentionally. But
oh, boy, that's got to be some hard news to deliver to the family.
Yeah, it's not an easy one.
Yeah.
But many times it's a situation where something's happened, and for whatever reason, they can't get back home on their own.
Okay. And so then they need some help, so you can help people out with
them
that.
And find out where they are and send the family to them, or at least provide closure.
Okay, so
if
you'd like,
several of those a week.
This is CJAD800. Stephanie Erickson here on Open Mic Night, talking to Charles Peden. He's a psychic pet medium, and I would love for him to be able to connect you with your animal that you have right now, or perhaps an animal that has died. Give me a call, 514-790-0800, or text us at 514-800, but I really encourage the calls because I think it's going to be easier for Charles to help you out. Okay, Charles, I can't wait anymore.
Yeah.
I want to start.
Okay.
Connect me with my girl.
Sounds good. So what's her name?
Bagheera, from the Jungle Book. Bagheera. Yeah.
Bagheera.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what we're going to do is very simple. We're going to ask her to connect with us. We're going to ask her to describe details about herself that you can confirm.
Okay.
We're looking for a simple yes or no response from you.
All right.
Bear in mind that other animals tied to you are fair game. And since there's a producer in here, too, that goes for him as well.
Oh, Andrew,
so if
okay.
if I describe Andrew's animals, if he has any associated with him, don't stay quiet. Say
okay.
something.
Okay.
All right. So, Bagheera, I'm going to ask her to connect with us. And if I describe another party, like I said, just bring up who it might be.
Excellent.
Bagheera, my name is Charles Peden, animal communicator, sitting here chatting with your mom. She's asked me to facilitate a connection with the two of you. And Bagheera, seeing as I've never met you, and the only thing I know is that you're 13 years old and in spirit, if you can fill in some of the blanks and tell me about your physical appearance, your breed or breeds, if you can tell me perhaps what was responsible for your passing, your favorite memories, or anything else that would help to confirm a connection, we'd certainly appreciate it. Bagheera, I await your response, and thank you in advance.
I'm waiting too, Bagheera. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you? So now you're getting some sort of messages somehow. Oh.
Is she a bit on the larger side?
Larger side? No, I wouldn't say that. Medium.
No?
Oh, I was supposed to say yes
side?
or no. Whoops, I gave you too much. No.
Well, she's definitely not a small dog is what I'm driving at.
No.
No, she's not a small dog. I'm looking at someone who's at least in that 45, 50-pound range, somewhere around there.
No, smaller.
A little shy of that?
Yeah.
Okay, can we talk about someone who's a little bit larger than that and who has a very heavy coat, and it appears to be like tricolor or something similar to that?
I'm not sure if there's anyone... Well,
are you familiar with like a Belgian Malinois?
No, I have no idea what that dog even is.
I'm sorry, not a Belgian Malinois, but what I'm looking at is this is a dog that's got a heavier coat.
Okay.
They've got thick fur, kind that I would associate with more like the northern breeds. But I don't see it as a northern breed. It's more like one of those, like a herding kind of breed.
Herding. Well, okay, so then maybe that's Bagheera because she was an Australian Shepherd, so that is a herding dog.
I keep getting herding references, and she had a little bit of a longer coat?
Yes, she did.
Because some Australian Shepherds have a short coat.
No, she had a longer coat.
I'm seeing the longer coat on her.
Okay.
Hold on a second here.
Okay, and oh boy, we're getting calls coming in. Oh, people are so excited. So we'll get to you. Everybody hang on.
I want to address the issue about her size. Can we talk about this for just a second?
Her thighs?
Yeah, I just want to talk about her size for a second. The reason why I've said she was a little bit on the larger side.
Okay.
I'll be very frank with you. Before we started, I was thinking that I might be reaching out to like a little Pomeranian or a Chihuahua. So for her to emphasize that she's larger with me would make perfect sense.
Okay.
Because initially I was thinking that's what we were going to be reaching out to.
Okay.
And in addition to that, she made sure that she included that she's a herding breed.
Okay, well, she's definitely a herding breed.
Very adamant about being a herding animal.
Okay.
And Australian Shepherds, that's what they do.
Okay.
So, and she did get me to say shepherd, too, which is cool. Give me a second here.
Okay. Oh, I wish I could see what you're doing, your process visually. I wish I could be saying what's going on. And we've got calls coming in too, so you're going to stay with me, Charles.
One of the ways it kind of works, just so people know, and I'll get right back to Bagheera because she has some stuff she needs to say.
Okay.
Is it's kind of like when you're tuning in your television back in the old days when you had rabbit ears and you're like a little more to the left, and then all of a sudden
yeah.
sharp.
Lee, lift your leg up here. The signal will come in better.
Exactly. Bagheera, quick question for you. Do you have a message that you'd like me to relay to your mom?
Before you give the message, Bagheera, this is CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson, open mic night. We've got Charles Peden, a psychic pet medium on here. So quick message, Bagheera, and then Charles will come back. What's a quick message for me?
All right. Bagheera wants to tell you how much she loves you, that she's still a part of your life, and I have to ask a very specific question.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Kind of funny, but I have to ask. Do you have those flowers that have really, really narrow petals to them, and they look like dahlias or something like that? Like a big head, but they're like darker colored. Like they're almost like kind of bluish, like it's almost similar like hydrangeas or something. What am I looking at?
I have no idea. You're talking about in my current house right now?
Yeah, this would be like a flower. It almost reminds me of like the artichoke or like a thistle in the shape of it.
An artichoke with a no.
Where it's got lots of small petals.
No, I'm not thinking of it. But maybe you know what? Maybe someone at my home can text me. Maybe I'm just not imagining it because I do have flowers like that. So listen, Charles, hang on the line. Charles, hang on a second. Hang on the line because I definitely want to hear what Bagheera has to say to me. But I also want to be respectful. We got lots of people who want to speak with you.
Absolutely.
But before we do that and get some of these callers on the air, we're going to head over to the traffic center. So Lauren, tell me what's going on. But first, we've got a caller, Patty. She's driving on the road, and she's calling about her deceased dog. Hi, Patty. What kind of a question do you have for Charles?
Oh, hi. Good evening. Yes, I was just hoping... Hi, Charles. How are you?
Oh, good. So who are we reaching out to? What's your dog's name?
Yeah, so my dog's name is Spike. And, so I was hoping that you could perhaps communicate with him, or... maybe I could hear some kind of message. We miss him dearly.
Yeah, she just said she misses him, so I guess he's passed away.
Yeah,
so
I would
Charles,
so yes, absolutely.
All right, so Patty, let's see what Charles can do and see if he can connect you with Spike.
All right, Patty, let's see if we can't get Spike in here. Just give me a second. Very simple yes or no response. Of course, if I describe another animal connected to you, living or past, just give me the name and we'll take it from there. Now, I'm going to go here and go say that Spike have a little bit of a longer coat?
No.
No? Can I ask you about a dog that's approximately, he'd be like a Yorkie size?
Yes.
And that's Spike. He's Yorkie size?
Yes, approximately. Yes.
Okay. But he's got the short coat, though?
Yes.
Do you groom him? Or did you?
No.
It was naturally short. Do you have another dog that's got a longer coat that's connected with you?
No.
No? Okay, we'll put aside into that. When I'm dealing with lots of calls coming in, I can have the animals try to jump in line in front of the other animals.
Hang on a second,
it's
Charles.
Like feeding time at the zoo. So
hang on a second. Just a second here, Charles. Yeah. I just want to just note that people who are on hold, I'm going to try and get to you. So hang on. This is CJAD800. Stephanie Erickson here, open mic night. Charles Peden is a psychic pet medium, and he's on the line right now with Patty and trying to connect her with her dog, Spike. Okay, so what else do you got for us, Charles?
Yes, okay. So, now, Spike was older at the time of passing, is that correct?
Sorry, would you repeat that, Charles?
Yes, he was older at the time of passing, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Meaning he's a senior. And in addition to that, you got Chihuahua in him?
No.
So he looks like a Chihuahua somewhat, correct?
Small like a Chihuahua, but not as small yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we're hitting on
small
something.
Dog.
Okay,
yeah.
So this is Charles Peden
he's
talking.
A very small dog, and
small dog.
Is he also very vocal?
In some ways. In the end, he was.
Okay, so wait, Charles, let me
Charles,
let me just jump in for a second. I have a question for you. So, this must be really hard for you when you've got like.
Oh, it's extremely hard.
Yeah, you first of all, you're not face to face with someone. We've got like people on hold here. We have Bagheera waiting in the background. How is it that you can manage? And please stay on hold, everybody who's on hold. How can you manage like trying to filter this information to the right person?
To be quite honest, it's almost a bit of a crapshoot when you're dealing with this situation, when you've got multiple parties reaching out simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be very frank.
Okay, so that's Charles Pete, and he's a psychic
when you deal
medium.
with a large audience like we're dealing with here, the potential for a stronger personality to step in front of a less dominant animal runs rampant.
Okay.
And it is something I deal with when put under these particular situations.
These difficult situations. That's Charles Peden. He's a psychic pet medium. This is CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. We've got Patty on the line, and she's trying to connect with Spike.
Spike have a heart condition?
Yes.
That was responsible for his passing?
Yes.
Thank you. Because all of a sudden I can feel my heart go. It's pretty clear that's what's responsible. I don't see any other primary cause for passing with Spike. And now I'm going to get kind of emotional because he's making a strong connection through me.
Okay.
And so I'm feeling his emotion at being able to reach out to you and confirm that his passing was due to a heart condition.
Yes. Wow.
And he wants to take this opportunity to tell you how much he loves you.
Thank you.
Anything, specific questions you'd like to ask him?
No, I think I feel it too. So I think you've answered, just
he
about.
loves you very much, and the emotion I feel from him is quite intense, and he's going to continue to remain in spirit as your fur angel from this point forward until you join him at some point in the future. At that point, you get to plan another adventure together should you choose to do so. But nature loves continuity, and thankfully you guys will be reunited.
That's so nice. So, Patty, I'm very happy for you. Patty, a caller, she just connected with Charles Pete, and he's a psychic pet medium. I'm happy for you, Patty. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
Now you got confirmation that Spike's around you, and he loves you, and he's still there for you. So thanks again for calling in. I want to jump to another caller here. We've got Nikki and Pierrefonds. And Nikki, I don't know if Nikki is a girl or boy.
I'm a girl.
Okay, sorry, Nikki. I wasn't
Nikki,
sure if a Nikki for a boy. Hi, Nikki. You're trying to connect with your dog. What's your dog's name?
It was Misha.
Misha.
Her name was Misha. Yes, she was a Great Dane.
Okay. Does Misha have any kind of reddish kind of coloring to the coat?
No, she was black with some white patches.
Okay. Can I ask, what I'm looking at right now, to me it looks like a dog with kind of that reddish kind of colored coat, and it's kind of on the longer side. Did you have a dog that had a coat like that?
Yes, we did. It was that was Layla, who was here first.
Layla?
Wow.
Yeah, now I get a resounding.
Very bossy. She was very bossy with Misha.
Oh, that's so nice. So I guess that's what happens for you,
my
Charles,
goodness.
sometime, huh? As a psychic pet medium, a different dog comes forward. Okay,
Yeah, I'm getting chills here.
She preceded the other dog in passing, though, correct?
No, Misha passed first because we took her. Yeah. She,
what's the story on the other dog? Why is she, what's her name? The one who just showed up? Because I just got a strong yes, it's her coming through.
The red-haired dog, Layla.
What's her name again?
Layla. Passed more recently from her age. She was 9 years old.
Oh, she just passed recently.
Yes.
Oh, well, then that makes even more sense why she would want to come through, because I thought you were asking about a dog that had just passed recently, and so the other one is trying to get acknowledgement, and Layla's like, excuse me, you're asking about her. What about me?
I can't believe this.
So let me just jump in here for a second. We're listening to Charles Pete, and he's a psychic pet medium, and he can communicate with any animal that's either deceased or alive. This is CJAD800. Stephanie Erickson here, Open Mic Night. We've got Nikki on the line. Sorry, Nikki. We've got Nikki on the line, and boy, Charles just communicated with two of your dogs. So are there any messages there?
Well, what I wanted to know about Misha was she had a intestinal blockage. In January of 2011, we had to take her to the vet, and we never were able to say goodbye to her because she was already unconscious. They just called us in to say goodbye. And we want to know, was she happy when she passed? Because she had it very hard. Like, she almost died during her stay, and then she died during this operation that they were trying to remove the blockage. So
now, the blockage, was it more prominent on the right side of her abdominal intestinal region?
We don't know which side it was on, but it was causing her to vomit everything she ate.
Okay, because what I'm feeling is I'm feeling a blockage down there, literally, and it hurts.
Yeah,
I can assure you, unfortunately, that yes, she was in some considerable pain.
I don't know which side the pancreas is on, but that's where they said the blockage was. The pancreas, is that on the right-hand side?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'd have to look at a map of the body.
I'd have to look, but it's right down there, kind of like in the center, off to the right a little bit. Yeah,
I think that would be the pancreas. Yep.
Okay, so this is CJAD800 Open Mic Night. Stephanie Erickson here. Charles Peden is on the line. He's a psychic pet medium. Charles, do you have any messages that you can send?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, in response to her, she wasn't able to be there for her dog's passing because her dog was already unconscious, and then they made the decision to euthanize. And so I just want to say that she's very much aware of what took place. She knows how much you love her, that you guys were there for her. And even though she wasn't able to be conscious for that process, immediately following, she was fully cognizant of everything that had taken place.
Okay.
And she has continued to maintain a presence around you in spirit since then.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask just a really quick question?
Sure.
Who's a giant Superman fan?
I beg your pardon?
A giant Superman fan.
Who? Me?
Yeah, who's a big fan of Superman? Is there someone in your home who was a big fan of Superman?
Not really, no.
Maybe that's someone else that we've got.
We have two large dogs, Superman-sized dogs. She was a Great Dane, and we have another Great Dane now, so that's the connection.
Make a little side note about that. Put a question mark next to it. Oftentimes, it'll be something that'll hit you later.
I will.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
A message that hasn't happened yet.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for calling in.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikki.
Thank you, Nikki.
So, Charles, I'm hearing, and we still have some people on hold, so I'm going to ask you to actually stick around for a bit because I'd like to try and get to this other person. I've got some questions coming in on text as well. I have a question for you, Charles.
Yes.
Because I'm hearing the relief that these callers are hearing when you say that their animal loves them and is still around in spirit. Is that really what most of the people are looking for when they contact you, is some sort of a relief?
Absolutely. There's this huge void that's left in our lives where, our last contact, this data stream of contact with our loved ones ends on their death, right? So all of a sudden we've got this lifeless form in front of us. We might see the light go from the eyes. And, it's a tough thing because all of a sudden it's like snuffed out.
Yeah.
Out of mind, gone.
Yeah.
But what really happens is it's no different than you or I exiting our car and stepping out of our vehicle and then being right there beside our vehicle and watching everybody witnessing us exiting our vehicle and then going through these throes of, oh my goodness, they're gone forever. I'll never see them again.
It's like an outer body experience almost.
I'm right here,
Yeah.
And so they're still with us, and they're going to continue to maintain the routine that they had to a great extent, with the exception of not having to, maintain a physical form. So just like us humans like to Netflix and, binge watch and stuff like that, or watch our favorite sporting events, animals love watching stuff. They love watching us. They love going to our places of work, to our places of play. After their passing, places they couldn't go.
Yeah, so I guess, so Charles, people want to know, and I'm sure this is the same. I know that you work also with individuals who are trying to connect with a person that has also died as well. And I think that is what people want to know. I'm very curious actually about your process. There's lots of things I want to know. Like, I know that you were saying, like, I feel it in my heart. So obviously some sensations you're getting physically. Maybe you're seeing images. Maybe you're hearing things. I want to know when this started for you. So hang on the line for me, Charles, if you can just stick around again. Welcome back. You're listening to CJAD800 Open Mic Night. I'm Stephanie Erickson. We've got Charles Peden on the phone. He's a psychic pet medium, and he can communicate with living animals and also deceased animals as well. Charles, you've been a big hit. I'm glad you've agreed to stay along for another segment because we've got lots of people who are wanting to talk to you. We've got texts coming in.
Certainly.
We've got someone else on the phone. But before we get to that, I just have a couple questions for you. When did you start, in the short version, your answer in the short version, please, when did you start realizing that you can communicate with animals?
January 24th, 2006.
Oh, that is a short answer.
Walked in my house, And 7 months later, I discovered that animals could communicate as well.
Okay. So, like, but already you were communicating with people who have died. Is
Correct.
that right? Okay. So,
Yeah.
were you surprised?
Oh, absolutely. Floored. Did not expect it to happen. I'll never forget the first time it happened, especially with a live animal. I kind of caught on that the past ones could do it because I was already communicating with spirit, and so, spirit to spirit, I kind of figured. But when a live animal communicated with me, it was a lady in Chicago. I was talking to her husband, or not her husband, but her father, who was in spirit. We had a great conversation with him, and then all of a sudden I see this cat, and I described the cat to her, and she goes, yeah, I've got that cat. I know him. And I said, yeah, he tells me how much he loves you, this and this and that. And by the way, I'm having trouble figuring out how he died. I just can't figure that part out. She goes, oh, no, he's on my lap. He's quite close to me. I go, yeah, I can feel the spirit's close to you. She goes, no, you don't seem to understand. He's alive. I was like, oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. And then you're like, oh, my God. I just discovered something new. So I want to make sure that we have time because I know it takes you a few minutes to connect. I've got Tracy on the line. Right now, I'm talking to Charles Peden. He's a psychic pet medium. He can communicate with animals that are alive or also those that have passed away. CJAD800. I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. We've got Tracy on the phone, and she wants to communicate with her dog who has passed away. So, Charles, go ahead. Talk to Tracy. Help her out.
Tracy, who are we reaching out to?
Hi, Charles. My dog's name was Spot.
Spot. Okay.
That's a
All
cute
right.
name.
And so I'm going to look to describe Spot to you, just a simple yes or no response. If I happen to describe another animal to you, just give me the name. Give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, and what's your primary question for Spot?
Well, I had a hard time deciding on when to euthanize him. That was a very difficult decision.
Yeah. That is
That's always a hard decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we really, that was, so my question is, did I do it at the right time?
Yeah, give me a second here.
And Tracy, I just want to say sorry about that. I know that's a hard decision. I struggled with that as well.
Oh, horrible.
Was he in his teens at the time of that call?
Pardon me?
Was he in his teens at the time of his passing?
Was he in his teens?
He was actually a little bit younger.
He's not as young as 8, is he?
Yeah, he was around 8, 9 years old.
Okay, because I can't even go past 9 as I refocus on him. I'm stuck at the 8 to 9 age.
Yep.
And now I'm going to get the emotional kick coming through. That's a good sign. Okay, good. Spot, how you doing, buddy? Good. All right. So, Spot, tell me what's going on. Prior to his passing, was he dealing with any kind of muscle atrophy?
Well, he was having difficulty walking. It wasn't his main illness.
I'm seeing some pretty serious some mobility issues that are creeping up pretty seriously.
He did have some mobility issues.
Side, it looks like he acts like he's much older.
Okay, yeah.
He's telling me that it was time and that he was ready. It's important to note that animals don't fear death. They fear pain and suffering and lack of quality of life. It's kind of like being stuck in a lease with a car that you just can't really drive anymore, or at least enjoy the way you used to. And so, as humans, we have this hang-up with death. Animals, not so much. Granted, Spot wants to be here just as much as you and I do. But when the vehicle no longer serves the spirit, it's time to move on.
Well, Tracy, I'm really glad that you were able to connect with Spot, and hopefully you got that reassurance that you were looking for, that it was the right time. That was Charles Peden, psychic pet medium. He can communicate with animals who have passed away and who are also alive. Thank you, Tracy, so much for calling. This is CJAD800, and I'm Stephanie Erickson. This is Open Mic Night. We do have another caller on the line. Before I get to her, Charles, I just want to ask you a question. When you are getting these messages and you say that you feel this emotional kick, what is happening? Because I'm hearing you get kind of choked up and you're not in front of me. What's happening?
Yeah, what's happening is that I am essentially a playback device for whatever they are experiencing. So I really am not myself. They step in and use my body to an extent to communicate. And when there's a confirmation of a connection, that's, especially when their person recognizes that it's them, that's when that emotional kick is coming in. And that's not from me, that's from them. That's their excitement at the recognition of their loved one, knowing that they're still present in spirit.
That's so cool, and you can feel it in your body.
Very overwhelming. I have no control over it. It causes me to tear up spontaneously and get my throat all tight and choked up. And to me, it's a sign that I'm doing my job.
That's great. That's great. We're speaking with Charles Peden. He's a psychic pet medium, and he can communicate with animals. Someone was asking about a dog who's barking a lot. So the dog is alive. This is an 18-month-old dog, barks a lot. This is Ken who's sending this text. So when you communicate with animals that are alive, and people are asking you to do that, what are they wanting to know? These kinds of things, like my dog is having this behavioral issue, what's going on? Is that why people are...
There's a large number of reasons to get a hold of a living animal. With the ones who are in spirit, it's primarily confirmation that you did the right thing or that they're still present or okay. But with a living animal, obviously your objectives are going to be completely different. And usually it's a behavioral concern or it's a general check-in, such as, well, you're new to our home, and I want to make sure all your needs are being met. How's everything working out for you? Is there anything more we can do for you?
Okay.
Like boy, I'd love to be one of those dogs.
Yeah.
And
drop this in the suggestions box.
And so it's really fun because there's all kinds of topics. I mean, it's like, so I had a conversation the other day with a police dog or a dog who's going into training for the force, and the big question was, what do you want to do? He said, bombs. I want to sniff for bombs and drugs. Like, you don't want to chase down people and tackle them. He goes, nah, I like the sniffing stuff. And I'm like, maybe he's got a coke issue. He wants to. Oh no, I'm kidding.
Okay, so Charles, I want to get to to another caller that we have. We're going to have to make this a bit quicker. I want to make sure that you can give this message to Allison.
Yeah, certainly, Allison.
Hi.
And for everybody else who's listening in, you can also go to my website at charlespeden.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right. Now, Allison, what's your cat's name?
Kiko.
Kiko?
Kiko, yeah.
Kiko. With a K in front?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Give me a minute here. And what's your question for Kiko?
Well, if he's okay.
You have a lot of black in his coat?
Yeah.
A little bit of white, too?
A white? Yeah. Well, he was like a tabby cat.
You got any brown in there, too?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like a American short hair, domestic short hair, tabby, brown, and earth tones with blacks and so forth, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And hold on a second. He's about medium size, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not particularly large.
No, he was the runt.
Yeah, exactly. He's medium at best.
Yeah.
Right now, we've got Allison on the line. She's speaking with Charles Peden. He's a psychic pet medium. This is CJAD800. Stephanie Erickson here, open mic night. So we've got the cat down, the type of a cat. Yeah. So what message, Charles, do you have for Allison from her cat?
And I got to ask, was he doing some kind of weird hiccup thing or kind of burp, kind of weird thing prior to passing?
Yeah, he always
it's almost like dry heave, like that kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That was right before his passing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've got him. And what's your question for Kiko? And by the way, he tells you how much he loves you, and he's giving me a big purr and a rub up again.
Well, that feels nice.
Well, it's just because the last few weeks that he was alive, he was going through kidney failures. So I was just wondering if he's all right now, because the last few weeks were really hellish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty. That would explain part of what I'm seeing with regards to what he's showing me prior to his passing. And yeah, it was certainly not an easy transition. He's doing perfectly fine now. The way it works is it's kind of like the equivalency of you having a incident with your car and you're perfectly fine. You step out of your vehicle, but your car doesn't run anymore. And so all the safety systems did their job, the airbags deployed, and you're perfectly okay. So the spirit is perfectly fine. No matter what happens to the body, our spirit endures.
Charles, I hate to cut you off. I'm sorry I have to do that, but I want to make sure we get your website out there, and we're just about to go to the news. Allison, I'm glad you connected, but if you want to connect with Charles a bit more and hear some more about Kiko, it's charlespeden.com. Thank you so much, Charles, for calling in. Stephanie Erickson, Open Mic Night. Really happy to be here. Thanks so much for listening. And this time I'm going to get it right. Now we're heading over to the news center with Andrew. What's going on, Andrew?